All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi novel, but it's happening right now, all around us. We're diving deep into the world of artificial intelligence, and specifically, its wild, unexpected journey into the world of art. And that journey is forcing us to ask a really fundamental question. So let's just put it out there. This is the big one. The question that's lighting up debates in art galleries, in courtrooms, and yeah, probably in your group chats too. Can a machine, a bunch of code and silicon, actually create something that we can truly call art? I mean, just imagine that for a second. That feeling when the ground just completely shifts under your feet. That mix of total awe, followed by that jolt of, wait, what? That's exactly what we're getting into today. It's that moment when everything you thought you knew about creativity gets flipped completely upside down. Okay, so where do we even begin? Let's start with the creations themselves. Because this isn't just some theory anymore. We are smack in the middle of a kind of AI renaissance, and some of the work being produced is just absolutely breathtaking. And I'm not talking about some weird abstract concepts. This stuff is out in the wild right now. You've got artists like Rafika Nadal, whose machine hallucinations are these massive data installations that literally seem to breathe. Or think about OpenAI's Jukebox, which isn't just making little jingles, it's composing entire symphonies. And for anyone who loves a good story, there's AI Dungeon creating these interactive narratives that just unfold forever based on what you do. And that quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the vibe of these creations. The music from Jukebox, for instance, people say it sounds so familiar, almost nostalgic, but there's something deeply alien about it at the same time. It's a feeling you get from all kinds of AI art. Okay, so you've got this incredible new art. But, of course, the moment we humans get involved, things get messy. Once you create something this groundbreaking, the rest of the world has to figure out what the heck to do with it. And that brings us to the fascinating, legally confusing world of the identity crisis this has kicked off. $432,500. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how much the first major AI-generated artwork, a piece called Edmund's de Bellamy, sold for at a Christie's auction. And this wasn't just a sale. It was a massive statement. And see, that's the whole thing. That auction perfectly captured the problem. When that hammer came down, it wasn't just a painting being sold. In a way, the entire concept of what it means to be an artist was being auctioned off. If an algorithm does the heavy lifting, who gets the credit? Who's the artist? So, you know what happens next, right? The lawyers and politicians are scrambling to play catch up. You've got Europe's AI Act, this huge piece of legislation, talking about things like human oversight. But what does human oversight even look like when your entire creative process is just typing, paint me a picture of a sad robot in the rain, into a text box? And look, this is exploding way beyond just pretty pictures. You have conceptual artists like Trevor Peglin who are using AI to ask some really tough questions about surveillance. And then you have these bizarre, wonderful experiments like AI Seinfeld, a 24/7 comedy stream that was hilarious until, well, it said something offensive and got itself banned, which you have to admit is probably the most human thing an AI has ever done. All right, but to really get why this is causing such a huge fight, we gotta pop the hood and see how these AI models actually create things. Because this is where our whole idea of originality just gets incredibly complicated. It basically boils down to this really cool three-step process: devour, digest, and dream. First, the AI devours a truly insane amount of data. We're talking billions of images, texts, sounds, pretty much the entire history of human culture. Then it digests all that information, finding patterns and connections that no human ever could. And finally, based on all that, it dreams up something brand new. So here is the billion-dollar question. What happens when the stuff the AI devours is copyrighted? This is the absolute core of massive lawsuits, like Getty Images suing Stability AI. On one side, you have artists and creators saying, hey, you used our work to train your AI without asking or paying us. And on the other side, the AI companies are saying, whoa, hold on, this is fair use. The AI is making something totally new and transformative. So our entire legal system is just spinning its wheels. We're asking these questions that sound like they belong in a philosophy class, but have huge, real-world consequences. Can an algorithm actually hold a copyright? Can you patent a dream? The old rules just don't apply anymore. So we've seen the art, We've seen the court cases. Now let's zoom all the way out and look at the final and maybe biggest ripple from all this, the massive cultural earthquake that's already happening. I mean, this stuff is no longer confined to some fancy art gallery. It is completely woven into our culture now. We've got viral music videos made by AI, video games with stories that change based on your mood, and even digital influencers like Lil Miquela who have actual record deals. And yeah, it's even winning fine art competitions, like the very controversial piece, Theater d'Opera Spatial. And that whole art competition controversy, that really pulled back the curtain on what we're actually worried about. The debate really quickly moved past, is it good art or is it fair? The real anxiety, the real issue, was about our own identity. If a machine can win an art contest, what does that mean for human artists? And that right there is what this all comes down to. I think we're past the point of asking if AI can create art. It clearly can. The real, much bigger question now is how this technology is completely rewriting the rules on what creativity itself even means for all of us. You know, the final answers aren't here yet. They're being generated right now as we speak, pixel by pixel and lawsuit by lawsuit. But one thing is for sure. This revolution is happening, not in some grand announcement, but quietly, in the background, as the machines just keep on dreaming,